It hurt. And the source of my pain was all around me. I didn't know that I had stepped into the devil's lair. 3 years ago, I was in an oceanside town in the Dominican Republic, enjoying an ice-cold Presidente beer. I was eating tostones and fried fish. It was delicious. And as I sat there on the veranda overlooking the street scene, I had a view of all of the action. Assorted men were coming down the streets. They were carrying rum, beer, and pesos. One group of men staggered by, and I could tell that they had more money than manners. As I sat there, I watched the evening come alive. I saw the women coming out. I saw a group of stunning, beautiful women come down the street. And they were vividly dressed and scantily clothed. And I caught myself. I wasn't staring, I was gawking. And I kind of like focused in, and then I realized they were sex workers. So what surprised me wasn't really that they were sex workers. What surprised me was my reaction. And what I was reacting to is how many of them there were. Easily, there were 35 to 40 women working that corner. That was 3 times as many as I had seen 5 years prior. And I thought to myself, what's happening to this town? What's happening to my country? What are these women thinking about? The island of Hispaniola is shared between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It has one of the highest rates of HIV/AIDS in the world. What were these women thinking? The next day, I hired a car to take me to the town where I was meeting my spiritual community from Ascension Church on the Upper West Side in Harlem. I haven't told you why I was there, have I? Oh, okay. I was there on a medical mission. I'm not a missionary. Well, at least I wasn't a missionary. But I was there on a medical mission. And I was leaving the following day to join my group in a small town on the northwest side of the island. And what I had seen that night hurt me profoundly. So the next day I hired a car. I'm going to the small town. I'm sitting outside on a stool, and I'm watching. And the same parade of women that I had seen before, these really, really beautifully dressed women, was walking down the street in the middle of the day. I was sitting there having lunch, and I could feel the heat rising up from the ground, from the midday Caribbean sun. And from my stool, I saw the sun glaring on these sex workers' faces. And I had an opportunity to take a really good look at them. What I saw horrified me. They weren't hardly sex workers. They weren't women. They were girls. Really, really young girls. They were 14, 15, maybe 16 years old. And I was just horrified. The car pulled up, I jumped into the back seat. As the car drove away, I kept massaging my chest. Maybe the pain in my heart would go away. But it didn't. When we got to the small town of El Factor, the missionaries from New York City were there, and they were heading into the church center for a meeting. And I joined them. And when we got to the church center, I met Patricia and Tammy and Anna. And there were 3 little girls that were filled with energy and innocence and vibrancy, and I was so relieved. I was so relieved to see them. They filled my heart. I was happy to see them. As the time went on during the medical mission, I would come to know just how smart these girls were. Not only were they really, really, really bright, they were also really resourceful. And so we went through the meeting, we got underway with the mission, and I had an experience that was a little bit disarming. See, I believe that a lot of what's wrong in the world today has been caused by missionaries. I was functioning from an understanding that missionaries were an object of oppression. Later I would come to find out otherwise, at least for my group. And in my heart of hearts, I knew that I was not taking part in a mission that was committed to oppressing people. The mission went on. I got sneered at by a few of my peers, because every time they called me a missionary, I would say, oh, no, I'm not a missionary. I'm not. As the days went on, we were engaged in serving the needy, clothing the poor. This is a community that we returned to 3 consecutive years in a row. And we did really wonderful work there. And while we were in the middle of taking care of the people in the community, the girls were underfoot. They were begging for attention. They wanted trinkets, rosaries. They wanted to be engaged with us. And these kids were underfoot. And I started to ask some questions, like, why don't these girls ever want to go home? Where are their parents? And I got friendly with the local missionaries, and they began to fill in the margins for me, and I began to get answers around some of my questions. And so with the 3 girls, Patricia, Tammy, and Anna, I'd like to tell you the story of Tammy. Tammy really captured my heart. Tammy is a little wiry-framed 7-year-old. She looks like she's 7, honestly. But honestly, chronologically, we knew she was 9 years old. My little Tammy looked like the cat that lost the fight every single day. I know, but she was cute. And she would show up with puffy eyes, and her hair would be a little bit wild, her clothes were mismatched, and she was always hungry. And Tammy never wanted to go home. And so I noticed how the girls could leverage their resources, how they could leverage their intellect to get what they wanted. And I kept thinking to myself, if they would only use their powers for good. And that thought just nestled in the back of my head. And so, as we went on, we were doing a medical mission, we're We're moving around, these kids are everywhere. I couldn't take a step without a kid being underneath me. I was tired, it was hot, it was humid. We were seeing, I swear to you, at least 1,200 people in one day for medical attention. And I was becoming really frustrated with the girls. And so one day I sat Tammy down for a little heart to heart. And I said, Tammy, why don't you ever want to go home? I said, why are you always here? She looked at me, and she put her head down, and she whispered. She said, they beat me. They call me names. I have to fight for everything I have. She said to me, my mother sent me out to beg for money so that she can do drugs and consume alcohol. My heart broke. She's a little girl. She's 9 years old. Tammy lived in a house with 5 other siblings, an older sister, 2 brothers, and a toddler, and her mother. Her house was filled with foot traffic all the time, people coming and going, people coming and going. And we found out that Tammy was living in a brothel. One day, one of the missionaries was fixing her hair on the porch, and she was propositioned by a John. That's how we found out. And so, it's no wonder Tammy didn't want to go home. And so, as time is going on, I'm talking to the missionaries, and I'm saying to them, you have to stop giving these kids all these trinkets. All you're doing is indulging them in a behavior that leads them to begging. As a Dominican, I will tell you that begging is not part of our cultural heritage. We are not socialized. We are not socialized, bred, or taught to beg. The Dominican Republic is the home of the first university and the first cathedral in the Antilles. How could our country, how could my country have gotten to a point where people have to beg for a living? The rates of violence and crime are only superseded by the corruption that we see on the island. How could this be? What was going on? And as these questions were going through my brain, I also started to question, what am I doing here? Yes, I was born in the Dominican Republic, but I was raised in New York City. I mean, the truth is, I've traveled the world helping people set up community development, social development programs all over the place. It just never occurred to me to do it in my country. Being there, seeing the need, it hurt deep down inside. So as the mission was wrapping up, I thought to myself, what's going to happen to these girls when the mission is over? What's going to happen when all the missionaries leave? Over 115 youth and 10 local educators how to become social entrepreneurs. We have worked with local businesses. We have underwritten arts projects. We have raised scholarship money. Today, Patricia, Tammy, and Anna are interned in a local educational program. They have progressed. They are focused on their studies. They have improved in their academic abilities. They have improved in their diction, their literacy skills, their interpersonal communication skills. They have grown in terms of their emotional intelligence. They are happy adolescents that spend the day thinking about what they want to be when they grow up and playing. I believe that if we can teach 40 children how to become social entrepreneurs, and let's say that maybe even half of them, let's say 20 of them, living in a community of 15,000 people, if they go on to open their own businesses and become social entrepreneurs, well, to me, that's just a damn good idea. Thank you.